Ladies and gentlemen, here it is, the most listened to radio show on the planet. Even the other stations are tuned in too.
Check. What up, world? It's the man with the plan, Bert McGurk, aka PR, the King of Hearts, and you are now tuned into Clocking Out, the podcast you listen to when you need to get motivated and inspired to doing bigger and better things. What is going on, everyone? Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Clocking Out. I'm your host, PR, the King of Hearts, and I'm here with Ramiah. How are you doing?
I'm good.
Ramiah, I said your name wrong, didn't I?
Ramiah.
See, I knew it. I was overthinking. Ramiah. I'm so sorry. We are here with Ramiah. Ramiah, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. See, we're both all over the place today. I'm overthinking and I'm nervous. How's the weather like over there with you guys? I know you guys got hit with a whole bunch of crazy weather not too long ago.
Yeah, it's a little rainy today and still wet from last week's storm, but so we definitely did not need more rain, but here we are. So not bad though. It cools it off so it's not too hot.
I hear you. We got a little bit of that storm last night over here too, and today it's just really like warm and mucky. So yeah.
Yeah, fun stuff.
So before we get started into the episode and I ask my questions about who you are and what your profession is, please give our listeners, viewers, and supporters a better idea of who you are. Can you please introduce yourself, tell us where you're from, and a little bit of your experience and your background of your profession?
Yeah. So my name is Ramiah. I am from little old East Texas. I'm a tattoo artist, completely machine-free, so Handpoke only tattoo artist out of Lufkin, Texas. Beautiful piney woods. I am 28, so pretty new and pretty young in it, pretty new in it. So yeah, that's kind of my go.
And what initially drew you to the world of tattooing? Because like you said, you're pretty young, and I know a lot of people love getting tattoos, but it's really rare to hear someone that's really young actually wanting to do tattoos. So what initially drew your attention to tattooing?
So I actually graduated college in the middle of 2020, in the middle of the pandemic, with a degree in biology. I graduated and the world was kind of frozen, so my path was a little blocked from just the world. So I had a friend who was in the industry and they needed a piercer, and I started apprenticing as a piercer there. And the moment that I saw somebody see their first tattoo, or their tattoo finished the first time, I knew that my life was changed. Like getting to be a part of, getting to see somebody look at themselves in a different way, in a nicer way or in a gentler way, like that was everything for me. So that was pretty immediate, that I needed to be in that industry. And so I had never drawn before then. I immediately picked up the pen and started drawing every single day since 2020. So yeah.
And what was your first experience? What tattoo was it that you first saw or that you first did or anything like that from the experience that you're explaining that gave you that feeling that you were a part of that?
It was actually piercings. So it was getting to see people look at their piercings for the first time and seeing them, like a new piercing there. I had some really, really special nipple piercing clients that I worked with, and was able to again see themselves in a different way and in a gentler way, and that was amazing. That was the change for me. Yeah.
All right, you're mentioning nipple piercings. I have to ask, because I think people that do that are just freaking crazy. Because me, I can't even pinch my nipple without freaking going crazy. So I can only imagine a needle going through it. In your opinion, whether it's your experience as for doing it yourself or seeing other people, or whether you have it personally, what do you feel like is more painful, getting a body piercing in something like a nipple or getting a tattoo?
I think a body piercing is more painful, like especially initially. When you get into like long tattoos, then it might switch over a little bit, but it's piercing that hurts so much more every time, and it hurts for longer. Like the healing on them takes months at a time versus a tattoo, which is with Handpoke just a couple days. So yeah, it's a big difference as far as the pain goes. Piercing's a lot worse.
What's the craziest piercing you've ever seen somebody get?
See, crazy's a weird word for it, because like
No, I can tell.
I've seen some rare piercings. I've seen some genital piercings, and they're not weird necessarily, but you just don't see them as often, or you don't think about them as often. But yeah.
And how would you describe your artistic style, and what inspires your work?
Mm-hmm. I would say my style is really heavy on contrast. So like the really bold lines and soft shading. I'm inspired by that kind of duality of the hard and soft. Little like darker aesthetic, but with a cute kind of twist to it. I like that merge of two things that don't seem like they should go together. That's what I'm super inspired by.
And what's the most rewarding aspect of being a tattoo artist or a body piercer, do you think?
So as a tattoo artist, it's getting to make somebody's brain dump real. It's getting to take that idea or that memorial piece and give them something that they get to keep with them forever, and something that they get to remind themselves with, even if it's just a laugh, for a silly tattoo, if it's like a giggle that they get to, laugh at, or a really, really special piece, that means a lot or that's heavy. Just having that reminder with you every day is so special to me.
And being that you're doing tattoos, you're doing big pieces, whether it's a big piece that's really complex and that has a whole bunch of different shading and different designs and stuff in it, or whether it's something really simple and small, what do you, or could you give us an example of some of the biggest challenges you faced in tattooing when it comes to hand poking tattoo? Because before I get to actually breaking down into what hand poke tattooing is, for a lot of people who don't get by the name of it, it's just really poking tattoos with just a needle, and you're doing it by hand instead of using a machine. So I'm pretty sure it's a lot more difficult in the sense of having to be more spot on or more patient. So what are some of the biggest challenges that you face while trying to do hand poke tattooing?
So for Handpoke specifically, I would say the patience is definitely a really big thing that you hit on. It's definitely, you have to kind of just go into a different place in your brain, and you have to understand that you're not going to be done for a while, and each dot has to have that, like, you have to maintain that level of focus. So there's definitely like a focused stamina that's required with handpoke tattooing. That's just different. I wouldn't say harder by any means from machine work at all, but I would just say different. And when it comes to designing, you're definitely that difference touches everything. So it touches how you design, how you decide to seat your client, because they're going to be there for a really long time. So you need to make sure that they're really comfortable. So there's a lot that goes into handpoke tattooing specifically that is just like I said, different. I hesitate to say harder in any regard, like one versus the other, but they're just very, very different beasts for sure.
And what was it that initially got you to specialize in handpoke tattooing versus using a machine?
The attention to detail and the almost the reverence that is required with handpoke, because it does take more time. I think if you're going to be marking someone's body and changing them forever, then that, the 15-minute that you got in and out, that's not a badge of honor to me. That's I don't know. It seems like it's almost cheapening the experience, because it is something that you do keep with you forever. And so I think that the reverence that this shop specifically holds with every tattoo that they sit down with, that's what really drew me in. I got tattooed here in 2021 and never wanted to leave. So they were amazing as far as just that huge like family feel, and they care about your work. Even if it's a small first tattoo, like they care about everything that walks in this door.
Can you walk us through the process of a handpoke tattooing, like for someone? Like, what's like the first thing that you do as the tattoo artist? What's the first thing that you tell your client to do coming in, especially if it's their first time experiencing this? Because it's me, And the one thing that I don't have is patience, but I truly love the idea of hand poke tattoo because of the fact that the more and more I got to learn about it through Ben, I was able to really start seeing through videos and some of the content that it's a thing that you kind of get, unless I'm wrong, correct me if I'm wrong, you get it, you have more time with the artist and the client, and it's kind of hard not to talk, you know. So you build a relationship with them, you start sharing personal stories, you're giving them something that's going to be on their body forever. So I feel like you're having an actual, like, it's a moment, it's a memory, you know.
Absolutely.
So what is it that you can tell other people, whether they're trying to look at it from the perspective of an artist or as a client that would like to get this done and try it out? What's the process of hand poke tattooing?
So the process of hand poke tattooing is going to be super similar to machine work, but I'll like break it down like from nothing, you know. So we pick your design, we clean your skin, we prep your skin by shaving the space, and then you would stick your stencil. From there, I take my needle and I tape it to a chopstick. There are different groupings at the tips. So our needles are basically a cartridge machine, like a machine has the needles in a plastic cartridge. They load down into the machine, whereas ours are soldered onto a long post. I take that post and I tape it to the chopstick, and the chopstick just kind of bolsters that little like metal rod, so the needles are sticking off the tip. And I stretch the skin, and I just place those dots exactly where they need to be, with you hitting the skin so much less frequently and less aggressively than a machine. It doesn't damage the skin as much, so the healing process is a lot faster. It's a pretty smooth heal for sure, especially in comparison to machine work, which that machine just, it hits so fast and so much, and it really saturates the skin sometimes more than it needs. So you'll have ink that oozes out, or blood and plasma that oozes out during the healing process, whereas ours don't do that. Machine or hand poke tattooing, like I said, just far less aggressive overall method than machine work.
So what kind of like aftercare do you recommend for people who get hand poke tattooing? Is it a different type of like treatment that you got to do and things like that compared to, because I know you mentioned like it takes a lot less time to heal and everything, and it's a lot less work and irritation on the skin from compared to using a machine. So what can people expect when it comes to like the healing and what they need to do to take care of it and manage the tattoo afterwards compared to a regular tattoo done by a machine versus you doing it with hand poking?
So it's super similar. It's just the duration that's going to be different. You'll wash it with an unscented antibacterial soap, and for us, you'll wash it with an unscented antibacterial soap, and then you'll follow that up with a very light consistency non-scented lotion. So just a really thin consistency lotion. You keep it hydrated for 3 to 4 days, and then you're good to go, basically, depending on the size. Now, if it goes bigger, with your bigger pieces, it may take a little bit longer. It may take about 7 to 10 days just to keep that moisturized. You'll be able to see when the skin kind of just chills out, almost like it kind of scabs a little bit sometimes in some spaces, especially with those bigger or more like packed black pieces. The skin just looks different, and that usually goes away in like a week with the bigger pieces, and around 3 to 4 days with the smaller pieces with hand poke.
And but besides for the healing and everything, and the fact that the machine is just a lot more rougher compared to just hand poking, what are some other misconceptions that you believe some people might have about hand poke tattoos versus the machine tattoos? Because I know like the first thing that I thought, I was thinking, it's a needle. So when you think about it, it's just like a needle going in, and I'm thinking like, oh, how does like, a machine's a machine and it'll stop when it needs to stop. So it's like I overthink about the stuff of like someone either poking too hard or too much or too close together in the same space that it's just making like a hole and like so besides for things like that and because of course like with tattoos, any tattoo can get infected, any tattoo can go wrong or whatever, but besides for those things, what are some other misconceptions that you've heard or that you've come across when dealing with clients when it comes to hand poke tattoos?
First of all, everybody thinks it hurts worse, which is wild. It definitely does not hurt as bad. Now, everybody's experience is different, so I can't, universally say, but it, in general, does not hurt as bad as machine work. Another big misconception is that the quality is subpar or less than machine work, and or it just doesn't look as solid, which is just not true. It's really about the artist and about the hand that puts it in. Like you said, with the consistency of like how deep you're going with machines and hand poke, that's all in the hands of the artist. So you can get, it's not necessarily about the method. It's more so about the artist specifically. So a big misconception is just that it's not as good or not as solid when it absolutely can be.
And so before I get into more stuff about you and the hand poking stuff, you mentioned how you first got your tattoo over there in 2021.
I did.
And at the same spot you're working at right now, right? Black
Right.
Spot. Okay. So could you tell us a little bit about the story and the history behind Black Spot Tattoo Company, and why is it that you feel like you just didn't want to leave there when you went there?
Yeah, absolutely. So Ben, the owner of the studio, he really, whenever he was setting up Black Spot, wanted to have a space where people felt like they could come home, like they could have a real connection with people and build relationships with people. So people are the core of Black Spot through and through. 2014 is when they established. So we're going to celebrate our 10 years this year. We're really excited about it. They've been in this building since 2017. So this building is what feels like Black Spot to me, which has a really like split between this like rustic versus very industrial feel, which I think definitely plays into what Black Spot is, which again is just that kind of like almost like culture meld, or just this place where things come together and make sense.
And in your opinion, from being an artist there as well as a person who was a client there as well, what do you feel separates and makes Black Spot Tattoo stand out from other tattoo parlors?
I think that the people first. I think that the focus on really building those relationships, again with the method of hand poke taking more time. You don't have the screaming of the machine in between you. It's just this very intimate connection that you get to have with your clients and with with the people that they bring too. So I think that's the main difference with Black Spot.
And do you have any advice for anyone who's looking to get their first tattoo? Like, I'm pretty sure it's me, and I got a tattoo myself. I got like one or two, and I'm dying to go back for more. I'm well overdue for it. But for anyone it's their first time going and they're thinking about getting a tattoo, and they're having a hard time deciding whether they want to get a machine tattoo or they want to do hand poke, or they don't know what shop to go to or what artist to pick. As an artist, as a person who's been tattooed herself, could you give some advice to anybody on what they should look for or look out for when they're trying to figure out what they want to do, how they want to do it, or where they want to get it done?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say to check out people's social media and really trust what you're seeing. That's kind of all that you can do, is really trust what you're seeing, and the quality in which trust what you definitely have to dig in and check who you're going to be working with. I would say research your artist as much as possible. Make sure you like what they're doing and make sure they're posting consistently so you can tell that you've got a good sample of what they do. Make sure that when you come in, you don't feel pushed out. You feel welcomed. You feel like you should be there because you should. And if any shop ever makes you feel like you don't belong there, then you really don't belong there. And it's okay to get up and leave. That's definitely not the case for every space. So it's really important for tattooing for you to feel comfortable with your artist, to be able to let them know, no, this design is not necessarily exactly what I thought I wanted. That open dialogue is so important when it comes to permanent work. So make sure, if you're going in for your first tattoo, make sure that you feel comfortable with your artist and with their space. And I would say just social media is what you have for that, and checking it in person if you can. But social media, make sure that you like what they're doing, what they're producing. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that social media, not only is it like the thing that's replacing everything right now, from TV to radio to God knows what, but I feel like if people aren't on social media, one, sharing what they're doing and what they have a passion for, I think they're really missing out. But two, if people aren't using it to their advantage to look up things and research, I think they're also missing out a good thing to utilize and take advantage of as well. What I wanted to ask you next is, what would you give other inspiring tattoo artists, particularly those who are interested and found it interesting that they want to go into the field of tattooing, but they want to take the route of hand poke tattooing?
Mm-hmm. I would say most important out of hand poke or machine, the most important thing is going to be to find a studio that you want to be a part of and that you believe in. That was the major turning point for me in being a tattoo artist, was finding my space that I believe in and I can put all of my support and invest all of my time and love and effort and energy into, because I believe so firmly in what Black Spot believes in. So I think definitely, like, you gotta want to be a part of the group, and so that's just going in and meeting all the people that you can and finding a space that you feel like you can call home. It's the hardest part, but it's the most important.
I agree with you, and that's true. I feel like if you did, it's like you're saying, if you find that place that you're comfortable in, you're gonna want to stay. You know what I mean? And you're not gonna want to leave. So that's a big thing. I agree with you. Were there any key mentors or turning points in your journey of tattooing?
Oh, so many, so many. Absolutely. I the first so many. Even back to my job as a waitress, having feedback sessions and regularly checking in with your progress. The first time that I applied for Black Spot, they told me no. And I reached out immediately for feedback on my interview and my portfolio, and eventually was able to get another opportunity because of reaching out immediately for feedback. So I wouldn't have even been in this role had it not been for some of those key bosses all the way down the line, and key teachers and amazing women who have helped shape who I am as a person. Benjamin, for this beautiful space and this method that I care so much about, really like being brave enough to push through the mess that you're going to get doing something different in East Texas.
I love that. And you mentioned how you used to do waitressing. So could you give us a little bit more information on that? Like, what was it that you did before you did tattooing, just to give other people a good idea? Because I know it's like myself. I feel like if I'm not already an artist for years and doing something in designing or something like that, or in shading and painting and coloring or anything that's really related to tattooing, in my mind, I feel like I can't do it, despite how attractive it might be or the idea is. And I'm pretty sure many other people think like that. So can you give us an idea of what you were doing before you did tattooing, just to let people know that it can always change?
And it all builds in together. It all makes you who you are. So, I mean, my job history is really short. I worked at a movie theater whenever I was like a teenager. Then I worked at a gas station for several years, and then as a waitress and bartender. So in all of those roles, I learned how to talk to people quickly, and efficiently, and as a waitress, how to make those personal connections that make you a person versus this food robot. I think that every single job that I've had has led me to be a better tattoo artist. So I would say to those people that want to do this, that just don't have necessarily like their home tattoo shop yet, it's taking everything that you can from every single job, every single opportunity and position that you hold, an experience that you have, you take that all, and it all builds up to tattooing. It really is an all-encompassing field. It touches everything.
And for your first tattoo, for both your first tattoo that you've gotten and your first tattoo that you did, were they both Handpoke tattoos, or?
Neither one of them were, actually. My first apprenticeship was with a machine at the place that I pierced. That was definitely not for me, but I will always hold that shop in a special place in my heart, and those people as well. My first tattoo that I got, I was 22, and I got it done with a machine as well. So I think probably at this point, almost a 50-50 split with my work as far as my tattoos on my body. 50-50 between machine and Handpoke. There's definitely things that are better suited for machines and things that are better suited for Handpoke. And those specifics kind of get a little nitty gritty, but there's a place for all tattoos.
And what was your first tattoo that you did on somebody? Do you remember?
I do. It was a little tiny cross on a wrist. It was, looking back now, I'm saying as a tattoo artist, that is a far harder tattoo than it looks like it is, because there's no room for error. But that was my very first tattoo with a machine that I picked up, and that was crazy. It's not good, and they've, I think, most definitely gotten it fixed since then. And if not, I certainly hope that they have.
What about you? What was your very first tattoo that you got for either a machine and Handpoked? And did you like one versus the other, whether it was the experience with the machine or Handpoked, or the design, and why?
So my very first machine tattoo is a Shel Silverstein illustration from the poem My Beard. It's a cute little old man with a big beard and no clothes on. So it's just it's silly. It's on my ankle. It makes me giggle every time I put my shoes on. And it reminds me of my grandfather, which is weird, but reminds me of that hippie soul. So that was my first machine piece. I loved it. I loved getting tattooed then. I don't recommend it, but I got a couple stick and poke tattoos in my home from a friend. And that's what led me to coming into Black Spot initially in the first place. Was I had done this stupid thing and wanted someone professional to fix it. So my first Handpoke tattoo is actually a really large 16-hour piece on the outside of my thigh, and it's like a haunted house. And that's a piece that kind of makes the tiny little piece that I got from a friend make sense. So I love it too.
And you're saying 16 hours. So how many sessions was that?
Three.
That's a lot. And and who did it for you? Was it a boy? Was it a girl?
That was our Katie Deer, Katie Meadows, tiny tattooist. She is amazing. She is so fast. You'll get to talk to her, hopefully. She's wonderful. She absolutely is a huge part of why I'm here at Black Spot. I had such a good experience with her, and then such a good healing process afterwards. Healing all 16 of those hours was such a breeze that I never wanted another machine tattoo again, which I have done since, more machine work, but the healing every time, I'm like, why do I do this?
I hear you. It was me when I got mine. Mine was 6 hours. And it was 2 sessions of 3 hours each. And the healing thing was because I like to sleep with my arm so like sleeping, it was like
the crunches.
Yes. Oh my God, it sucks. And then the ink gets everywhere. What I wanted to ask you next is because myself, I know it's going to sound really weird, but I had this conversation with Ben. We had a deep conversation about tattoos, and he said something that like I didn't think anyone else looked at it like that way. And he mentioned this thing where he was gonna go get a tattoo, or he was gonna do a tattoo from someone, and he was like, we gotta put some armor on this person, And when he said that, it really clicked with me because the reason I got the tattoo that I have, I was going through some stuff, and like I'm really into Assassin's Creed and all this, and I felt like I really related to the main character and him, like, being all about his family and all about his last name. And I got this on it because it reminded me of a piece of armor that the character actually wears. And so that was a part of it. But then the other part was, I know it's going to sound weird, I like the pain. Not that it's that painful, but I like the feeling of the tattoo. So
You
what I wanted to
accomplished something. Yeah.
Yes. That's I think that's what it is. Like, even, and I got it like right on like my elbow and everything. So I remember like the pain of it, and I know it sucked, but I remember the whole time I was just thinking about a whole bunch of stuff that I went through and like the things that suck, and I just kept like, and I went through it. And what I wanted to ask you, saying all that, is what makes you want to get your tattoos, whether it's small, big, like is it the feeling of it? Is it the thought that you're like I mentioned, you're creating a memory with not only the artist, but you're doing something that's permanent, that's reminding you of something, like the one that you have on your ankle that's that reminds you of your grandpa? Like, is there anything else that gives you that urge to, like, what, I gotta go get inked up right now?
Yes, absolutely. I have always, my vision of myself as an adult has always had tattoos. So I feel like every time I get a new tattoo, it's almost like, I heard somebody describe it like scratching a lottery ticket and revealing like what's underneath, what actually has always been there. You've just removed that top layer. It feels so at home to see myself with tattoos. Every tattoo that I get feels like one step closer to kind of what I've always visioned my skin look like. And they're fun. They're just really fun. I think they're pretty. There are some tattoos that I have like on the list that are really special that I want as memorial kind of tattoos, or things to memorialize people, or things to like help me remember these people specifically. But for the most part, it's really just to look pretty. It's to look cool and to be covered in tattoos. Yeah.
I agree with you. Especially the looking cool part. That's like my main thing. I want to try to look like some like superhero out of like an anime or something.
Exactly.
Like,
Exactly. And I mean, like you said, it absolutely, it's such a powerful feeling to complete a thing and to finish this thing that was hard, that took a lot of time and a lot of money and a lot of effort and pain and blood went into it, and like it feels so good. And on the other end of that, it feels so good to be able to help coach somebody through that when it's their turn, and to get to be a part of that at all is amazing. That's why I do this.
I agree with you. I think it's very special when someone goes to their first tattoo, no matter how big or how small it is. My first one, I did this whole big thing. Like, I went big on the first one. I was like, if I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna go all in.
Yeah.
And I remember I drew it myself, and then I gave it to the artist. I told him, like, look, this is just an idea. You switch it up and add your flavor to it. This is where I want it. This is how I want it to look. And he went in. And then I remember my younger sister, she went for her first tattoo, and it was a real small little baby cross that she had. And she was like, like bugging all over the place. But it wasn't until like afterwards and the whole healing process and like despite it being the smallest tattoo or whatever, I felt like we had like this little bond type thing going on now. So what I want to ask you next related to all that though is I don't know, not that I hate color tattoos, but like I rather just like the black and white, or I don't even know what you would call it. I just call it black and white. I know this probably is like shading or dark or gray. I don't know what the actual professional term of it is, but so I wanted to ask you, do you prefer one style of tattooing over the other, like color versus non-color, or like straight lines versus not straight? Like, is there anything like that? Because I'm pretty sure it's me. Like when it comes to anything that I like, whether it's collecting cards, playing video games, movies, whatever, I have a specific thing that I stay away from for my reason. So being a tattoo artist and a person that gets tattooed, is there anything that you stay away from as an artist because you just don't like dealing with that, or you don't like the way it looks or something? Or as well as a person who gets tattooed, is there something that you just stay away from because you don't want it on you and you don't like it? It's like not your thing.
So I don't personally like having a lot of color in my tattoos, but I love the look of colored tattoos and I love doing colored tattoos. I'm not in a place where I don't like anything with tattooing. Like I'm so enamored with it as a whole. There's not a specific style that I'm just like, I don't do. Well, there are things that aren't super suited well for handpoke tattooing, and I will avoid those. Like realism is one. Getting some of those really, really smooth gray shading washes, that's going to be something that's like much better suited for a machine. So there are some things that come in that I will recommend people go to a machine artist for. But I'm not avoiding anything because I just don't like it in tattooing. I think I'm just so in love with tattooing in general that the fact that, and it's not about me or what I like in a tattoo. It's really me getting to make this person's idea come to life. And whether or not that's something that I would put on my body doesn't matter. As long as it is like, there's not a reason for me to not do it. You know, like if the design is too dense with detail, it could come out really blurry later down the line. So like as it ages in the skin. So as long as there's not something that like on the technical level that is not going to work, then it's my job to make this brain soup into your tattoo for you. So no, I don't put a lot of my own opinions into other people's tattoos. I don't think.
I get you. And what's the longest session or like the longest tattoo that you've or piece that you've done on someone, whether it's the longest one time they sat down in one session or the longest that they have to come back for multiple sessions? Like what's the biggest tattoo that you've done on someone, or the most complicated one that you've done?
So I have several clients that come in regularly that we're working on either a sleeve concept or a leg sleeve concept, things like that. I have 2 leg sleeves in progress and an arm sleeve in progress that they come in for 8-hour days, and they come in for those days about once a month or once every other month or so. So it's kind of tough. I have one client who comes in from out of town and she stays Friday and Saturday, and she does 2 days back to back, and we do 2 8-hour days for her, and then she's gone and she'll be back in either about a month or month and a half to 2 months. So I see her pretty regularly. We're building out her leg sleeve, so it's definitely an investment of time.
Yeah, no, definitely, especially with a sleeve at all. Like, and that's the thing I'm trying to wrap my head around. Like, it's I'm like a big person. I'm really hard to stay still in the sense of like for long periods of time. And like you mentioned, handpoke tattooing is something that takes patience. It takes time. And for someone to be that dedicated to fly out back and forth and stay there and
well, yeah, she is driving, so thankfully she's not having to fly. But I like to think that I make it a nice experience. You know, we have a good time, we laugh.
I can imagine. I'm pretty sure. But it's like it's crazy to take the long journey to then go and then sit there also for a long period of time. To then it's just something that it's. You definitely doing something right. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't do that if I didn't like going over there, the person that was tattooing me, you know? The next thing I wanted to ask you regarding doing tattoos, have you ever had a moment, or like what's a story you could tell us where you had like a uh-oh moment of like where either you thought you messed up or you did mess up or you forgot something that was important? Like, have you ever had an experience with that? And if so, what did you do to fix it?
So it's funny. In the beginning of your apprenticeship, you have a lot of those moments on paper. So it's you learn in the beginning that it's not an if, it's a when. You're gonna have those little mistakes. You're gonna have somebody sneezes and you throw a dot like somewhere crazy. With Handpoke, it's one dot that I have made this mistake with, and most of the time that dot may just disappear. So it really just it's different every single time. You are open and honest with your person. As soon as it happens, you let them know, hey, I'm going to have to approach this a little bit differently, so that, you know, I may have to widen out this line a little bit, or, you know, like there's definitely, it's something different every single time. And a lot of your apprenticeship is figuring out how to do that and what to do when different things like that happen. So like I said, a lot of that happens on paper before it ever touches a person or before it ever happens on a person. But I have had the random twitches that have resulted in a dot that's way over, that's not necessarily a part of the tattoo anymore. And we've had those where we just got to leave it. That's
I can just imagine it's like a chew, and you just got like, oh, look, you got an extra beauty mark now.
Look, and most of the time, like with the twitches, I can kind of feel that the body, like it does a little like pre-twitch, little tense, and like yeah. So it doesn't happen often at all. But thankfully it's not like a line or a dash or anything. It's just one little thing.
Yeah, exactly. I totally agree with that. I'd go crazy if it was like a big streak or something random. Like,
it's easier for us to mess up than it is for a machine artist to mess up. A machine artist can get themselves into a mess really fast, whereas with us, it's oops.
True. Yeah. Is there anything as a tattoo artist that you would like? Because I'm pretty sure you come across clients that either do things that you're like, oh my God, not this again, or like something like that. Is there anything that you would like to tell potential clients or other people that are looking to go get tattooed to avoid doing, or, you know, whether it's to save time or, you know, save just any frustration of them not understanding, like, all right, either this isn't going to work, or you're not understanding like what the process is here or something? Like, what's something that you feel like you constantly have to keep telling clients? And it's not like a bad thing or nothing, but just something that makes your life easier and them as well.
I would say something that I would tell any future client is don't let anybody else's opinion dictate what you want on your body for your tattoo. There have been cases where people bring in their friends and family and they love the tattoo. They show their friends and family, and then the friends and family have all of these notes, and that's not anything that they would have ever come up with on their own, or they're watching videos online where tattoo artists say that they hate doing font tattoos. So then they think that they shouldn't get this font tattoo that they want. So I would say don't let anybody else's opinion touch what you want for your tattoos. That's something that I tell my people a lot. I care what mom thinks, kind of. I care more about what you think. You wear it, you know?
And so where, like, if people want to get more information about you and they want to book a session with you, where can they do that?
So they can do that at blackspottattoocompany.com or blackspottattooco@gmail. You can always shoot us an email. My Instagram is at tattoos.by.Maya. You can always message me there, and I do have a jot form that is linked on my Instagram in my bio. So that is a whole form that asks you some specifics about what you're wanting in your tattoo and kind of when your availability is.
And is there anything that you're currently working on right now, or that you're excited about that you would like to share with us that's coming up in the future?
So there's always more exciting, fun things that Black Spot is up to as a company. Personally, I'm always looking forward to getting in as many wonderful people as possible. So just more of that for sure.
I love that. And right now we got 18 people tuning in. We got a few people on Twitch, a few people on X. We got a few people on YouTube. Everybody, thank you for tuning in, showing some love. Ben came in here and showed some love. Thank you, Ben. what is it you would like to tell people, whether they're looking to get tattoos, whether they're trying to be a tattoo artist, whether they're just trying to be an artist in general? What's some advice that you want to give somebody to help inspire them, to help get them through whatever little challenges they're going through right now in the moment? If they feel like maybe this isn't for them, or they got to stop, or they're not good enough, or they don't have the equipment or the experience that they need, like, from you being already through all that and you already actually doing what you wanted to do, despite you going the first time and them turning you away and you still going back, like, as a person who's gotten tattooed, who's done tattooed, and who's done it, whether machine, hand poke, and all that, what is the best advice that you want to give other inspiring artists, tattooers, or anyone that's looking just to get tatted up from head to toe? Like, what's the best advice that you want to give them?
Yeah, get inspired by the world around you and never stop. Never stop practicing. Art is a practice. Getting tattooed is a practice. You find new people, and I would say just keep in it. Despite the no's, reach out for feedback and keep in it. Just keep doing it. You know.
Sorry, my phone started ringing. I'm sorry about that. No, and I love all that. I love, because everything that you're saying really just circles around the whole fact of either passion and caring and comfortability, not only in the environment that you're in, that you're getting tattooed, but by the person who's tattooing you and what you're trying to get. And I just feel like you look at it from a different perspective. And I don't know whether it's just you as a person, whether it's the environment of Black Spot Tattoo, or the people that you're around and the people that you've worked on and worked with. But a lot of other tattoo people that I've met over here where I'm from in Long Island, New York, a lot of them are just about, all right, you got to have the ink and the machine and the design and this and that, and then everything is, make sure, like, that's why I specifically wanted to ask, like, what are you looking for from your client? What's the most thing that you worry about? A lot of the people out here, when I ask them things, it's like, oh, make sure you remember to tip and tip good, and make sure you show up on time, and that you let them do whatever they want, and you don't question the tattooer, you don't. And you guys over there, from the experience that I've had with Ben, because I've had him on here also, and from just the conversation I had with you, it's completely different. I don't know if it's something in the water over there or in the air, but it's like you guys are more focused on giving an actual experience, creating a memory, making them feel comfortable, and making them feel at home. And it's like, it just sounds like you treat everybody like family. And that's like a big thing. And that's something that's big to me. And I'm pretty sure many other people, especially those for looking to have their first tattoo and their first experience in that, especially in hand poke tattooing, I think like all that is very, very important. And so from me, a person who's gotten tattooed and who's had somewhat bad experiences here and there, going into shops and being like, you know what, not today, and you want to leave, like, it's me, and I've been dying. I want to go over there and I want to get tatted up and just and check it out, because my whole thing is, I feel like it's a challenge. One, like I said, I like, I don't know if I would be able to just to sit there. I think that's like the main thing, and I want to challenge myself to see if I can sit there, be still, and do it. But also in the sense, it's just something different. It's something new. My social battery is like very small, so it's like sometimes it's hard for me. That's why I'm doing things like this, to break out of the comfort zone. So it's like, I can only imagine what it's like, sitting there when there's no machine sound and it's just quiet and it's you and the person. Like, it's kind of hard not to talk or not to ask questions or not to. So that's something that I feel like it would help break me out of this comfortability of staying in my little shell. But it's little things like that I find important, because I would hesitate, feeling not talking to someone like you or Ben, who actually has done this and has the experience in that side of hand poke tattoos. All I would think about is the machine aspect of things and that experience. And this just seems like a totally different world, as much as like tattooing is just tattooing, but in the sense of like the experience you're giving and what you're doing, and not only that, it seems more pleasurable in the sense that you don't have to deal with that much hassle. Like a lot of the things you mentioned from the machine versus just doing the hand poke, versus the actual interaction you get with the artist and the client, like all those things, I think it's a really big thing. And I appreciate you. I appreciate you for taking the time to be patient with people, and for coming on here and for sharing your experience and the knowledge and everything. And so what I wanted to ask you before we end this, we've been going for 50 minutes now. We're getting close to an hour. I wanted to ask you, as far as a person, do you feel like there could be more tattooing, whether it is just from machine or hand poke? Because I honestly feel like I don't know, maybe it's just me. I've been seeing, like, it's hard for me to see people with tattoos now. Like I see them, but it's like you can tell that they're people, they're much older, they gotten tattoos years ago.
Mhm.
Like, it's rare to see people nowadays go for tattoos, especially, maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like a lot of people get tattoos just to get them instead of getting it for a specific reason or for it to mean something.
Mhm.
A lot of people get tattoos and I'll ask them like, oh, why'd you get it? Or like, where'd you, oh, I don't remember. I just thought it was cool and I got it. And I, like, you know what I mean? It's like, it kind of bothers me a little bit when people do that, because like when I got my tattoos, like I remember who did it. I remember the day, I remember why, and I remember the experience. So it's like you want to kind of share that with someone, or have that conversation. And it's like when you start talking to them, it comes out it's not like that for them.
Mhm.
So do you feel like tattooing is either growing or it's shrinking? There's less people, or and if so, do you think there's a reason for it? Do you think people are scared? Do you think it's just becoming less popular because of the fact of, people going to work and it being less acceptable or presentable, or whatever? Because it's more acceptable nowadays, but there are certain places in the business that, they don't want you to show tattoos or nothing like
Right.
that. So how do you feel about it? Do you feel that tattooing is something that's really popular or growing, or do you think that it's slowly becoming like very rare to see people with tattoos or tattoo artists in general? Like,
Definitely not. I would say that the amount of jobs that have more open policies for tattoos is higher now than it ever has been, and I think that trend is only going to increase. I also think that it's harder to find people that don't have at least one tattoo nowadays, and maybe it is just the clientele that our shop brings in, but I still think that the passion for what you're getting is still there, versus that, like, oh, I just got it because it was cool. That is absolutely a reality that is out there, but more often than not, even with picking up pieces like flash pieces that were designed by us, not with anything specifically in mind, that's going to hit with somebody and resonate with somebody, and they're going to have their reasons why they want it other than just cool. So I think that we absolutely work with a lot of people who have really, really interesting stories with all of their tattoos. So I think it's a mixed bag, people are gonna people.
100%. If you could go back in time, right? What advice would you give younger you? Whether it's getting that tattoo, not getting it, doing it differently, going to a different person, starting tattooing sooner, starting a little later, or like, what advice would you give younger you?
Um, I would say pick up a pen earlier, start drawing before 25, 26 years old. So that whenever your career is art, you'll be a little further along. Um, but really that's it. I wouldn't change any of my previous experiences. I wouldn't change getting the degree and not using it. All of it has built me into this tattoo artist that I am, that I'm able to be for those people. So I wouldn't change it. So I would really just tell myself to pick up the pen earlier, start drawing.
I love that. And yeah, so is there anything that you would like to share with us in the sense of trying to let others like get a better perspective or better idea of hand poking, in a sense of like trying to attract more people to it, to make it more popular, make it more common, because I feel like, and honestly, with the way that you're explaining it, the way that Ben's told me also, is like, it sounds like it should be like the first thing that you do when you're getting tattooing in every way, because it sounds, one, it sounds safer, two, it sounds a lot more cleaner, in the sense of, one, cleaner tattoos, neater tattoos, but also in the sense of like the healing process, like you mentioned, because I know my healing process wasn't easy and it took a while, and it's like those things are big. So is there anything you want to tell people who might be hesitant on getting a hand poke tattoo?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would definitely, I would say if you have tattoos, getting a tattoo this way is such a unique experience that is so separate from machine work, that I think it's just really cool to have that comparison under your belt. If I'm talking to the people who are looking for their first tattoo ever, I do think Handpoke is such a gentle way to dip your toes into the water of tattooing. That's definitely not to say don't get machine work, but Handpoke is smooth. It's gentle. It's a really, like I said, a nice way to get into the world of tattoos in general. Do research and investigate your artist and the space that you're at. And I would say, like, the biggest takeaway is, for me, if I could impart onto anyone, is just that importance of feeling comfortable with your artist and being able to tell them exactly what you need to get the result that you want.
I love that. If anyone who is listening, whether you're here live, whether you're listening to this pre-recording later on any of the audio streaming platforms you're listening, or any of the live streaming platforms, whether it's on Twitch, YouTube, X, Spotify, Google Play, Apple Play, whatever it is, any of the information that you would like to get to schedule your hand pat, can't even speak, your Handpoke tattoo at Blockspot Tattoo with, I'm about to say your name wrong again. Please say it for me. Ramiah. See, I keep saying Ramiah. I don't know. I'm so sorry. And you want to get your tattoo done by Ramiah, right? Ramiah. I still can't say it. I'm sorry. You have me nervous.
You're okay.
Ramiah. I gotta say, I'm gonna make a song about it so I remember. And you want to book Ramiah and you want to check out her work. All the link to her social media, to her Instagram, so you can check out her work, is going to be in the description below. Also, the link to Black Spot Tattoo is going to be in the link below. Go and give them a follow. Go and check them out. Learn more about Handpoke tattoos. Go get one. I'm trying to get down to Texas so I can get myself inked up as well. I would love it. I really need to get this done. I want to check out the experience, and I want to go check out that dope ass tattoo spot. I keep seeing different. I haven't seen like a full layout of the whole place. I always see like little chunks of it here and there, and it just looks so cool that I got to go over there and check it out for myself. Especially the wall of all the V Friends cards in the back and everything.
Yes.
So I wanted to say thank you so much for giving me the time and coming by and sharing the information, sharing a little bit about yourself with everybody. I truly appreciate it. And I really love what you guys are doing over there. I'm always checking out your guys' stuff. I always see all your work. I love your work also. I love all the different styles that you have. And I see that you work with a lot of other tattoo artists. I've been trying to reach out to them too. I'm going to see if I can get them on here also. Ben was the first one I spoke to that did tattooing, and it made me real curious of that side of the artist's side. And I would like to talk to more people, especially female creators. I feel like there's not enough attention put on female creators, whether it's tattoo artists or any other any other talented females in regarding whatever they're into and what their profession is. So I want to say thank you so much for coming by. I truly appreciate the time. Everybody else, please make sure you go give her a follow, show her some love. Shout out to Black Spot Tattoo. Thank you, Ben, so much for stopping by and showing some love. Everybody else who came in, whether you're on X, Twitch, or YouTube, thank you so much. I love you guys. This has been another episode of Clocking Out Podcast. I love y'all. Stay safe. Peace.